Set up. All right, so we're going to give it a couple of minutes. It's going to be another live recording of the Elite Development Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about things you can do to give your training more structure, to get more out of your training. Talking about things you can do to get more out of your training. So we're going to get into the show in a couple of minutes here. But just in the meantime, I'm going to let some people filter in. I am actually going to see if I can get some people on here. In the meantime, as you tune in, if you've got a friend, a teammate, anybody that you know that could use some benefit to their training, use some ways to get more out of their training, come on through here. Make sure you join, make sure you tag them. And then in a minute here, let's get it going. All right, so we're going to be getting into the show in about a minute. As you tune in, let me know how your day's going. Let me know any wins that you've had today, anything that has been going well for you, how your Tuesday has been, and how you're feeling about the rest of the week coming up. For me, one nice thing about the day today is Tuesdays are always my organizational day. So I just get all of that stuff that's been hanging over my head done. And so it was a solid, productive day like that. Still got more to go. Still going to be going into the gym tonight to do a little bit of filming for Train Heroic. But it's been a solid day so far, and I'm looking forward to getting into this. So we're going to get into it in about 15 seconds. And we're going to be talking, as I mentioned, about getting more structure in your training, getting more out of your training. And as always, the people that I want at these live streams, the people that I want to be talking to here are the people that are involved in the athlete journey, the people that are involved in building athletes into the best versions of themselves. So this can be the athletes themselves. This can be coaches. This can be parents of young athletes that are trying to build their dream careers in sport. All of these people are who I want to be talking to in these live streams. So as you listen to this one, make sure that you're telling people about the show, because that is the goal here. We're trying to impact the lives and careers of athletes everywhere. So we're going to get into the show now. And we're going to get going in 3, 2, 1. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the show designed to help athletes gain an edge on their opponent and build their dream careers in sport. Now, today we're going to be talking about getting more out of your training and 2 things you can do to get more out of your training. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because I work with a lot of athletes now. I work with athletes in 5 different countries. And in a lot of the talks I have with them and with other athletes around, I find that athletes get stuck in the trap of going through the motions. You know, they all know they need to be training. They all know that training is important and training is going to benefit them, but they don't necessarily know if what they're doing is actually helping them that much in sport. So because they don't know and they don't have that real direction of knowing that what they're doing is actually helping, knowing that what they're doing is actually the best use of their time, they get stuck in this trap of almost just going through the motions, you know, showing up because they know they have to, putting the time in because they know they have to, but not really giving it everything they've got because subconsciously they don't really know what's the benefit of this. And that is definitely one of the reasons why one of the reasons why myself as a coach, I try to always emphasize that with my athletes. I try to always be talking about the benefits behind what we're doing, the benefits behind every given exercise, and also really reinforcing with them to listen to their bodies, to understand when they need recovery days or when they need to modify a program and not just get drastically bought into exactly what we're doing on any given day. And so, yeah, as I mentioned, I feel like athletes get stuck in this trap of going through the motions. You know, they're doing the work, but they're not necessarily absorbing it. And beyond that, a lot of the time I find athletes leave a session and then it's out of their head. They don't think about it until the next time they're in the gym, or they don't think about it until the next time they're at practice. Because again, they're not really seeing the actual benefit back towards their sport. For combat athletes, they spend an hour hitting the bag and they're just kind of hitting the bag to hit the bag. Or for hockey players, they go out and they shoot 500 pucks after practice, but there's no purpose to those 500 pucks. So mentally, we're thinking, well, I'm getting better because I'm spending time in my sport. But subconsciously, you're realizing that just throwing punches or just shooting pucks isn't necessarily providing a lot of benefit. The benefit comes from the intention behind what you're doing. So, what I want to talk about today is how to start getting more out of the time that you train, how to start getting more out of the time that you're practicing. And the first way to start getting more out of your practice and out of your training is to set intention. So if you're going to the gym and you're planning on spending an hour there, what are you getting out of that hour? When you finish, what are you going to be able to look back and say you improved in that hour? Because just being there doesn't make you better. Having the intention behind what you're actually trying to improve, having the intention of, I'm going to work on XYZ specific skill set, is how you're actually going to improve. So the first way that we're going to start seeing more progress in training, getting more benefit from training, is exactly that. The first way is going to be by setting intentions. The way I would encourage you to do this in the beginning is simply to take 5 minutes before every session and set the intention for that session. That can be something as simple as, I'm going to bring good energy to the gym today. And if that's your intention, sometimes if you're feeling a little bit burnt out, you're feeling a little bit fatigued, simply starting the session off by claiming the intention of, I'm going to bring good energy to the gym today, sets that training session off in the right direction, and in turn allows you to actually bring better energy, and in turn allows you to get more out of that session. Now, going a little deeper, setting an intention for a training session can be, I am going to improve XYZ skill set. As I said before, if you pick 1 to 3 skills that you're going to work on while you're there, what drills are you doing that are going to improve those skills? And then how much time are you going to spend on each one to get an improvement, and not just end up going through the motions and spending all this time without actually getting any real benefit? By doing this and by setting those intentions, you're better understanding the purpose behind your training. Obviously, we all understand that the purpose of training is to improve in the sport, but now you're able to take that a step further, where you're able to actually understand the benefit of each exercise, understand the benefit of the time that you're spending in the gym. And if you can understand that and you can get the most out of that, now you're more bought into what you're doing. And if you're more bought into what you're doing, you're going to get more out of it. So the second thing I want to talk about in terms of getting more out of your training, in terms of being more intentional with your training, is recovery days. Because one of the main ways that I believe gets extremely overlooked in our industry, that athletes can get more out of the time they spend in the gym, as strange as this is going to sound, is to spend less time in the gym. Even if you love training, even if you love your sport, you hit a point where you start to burn out. You hit a point where it starts to just be a little bit too much. I know that happened for me with coaching when I was working back at my last job before starting on my own. I loved the job itself, but the hours were insane. I was barely sleeping. I had no even hint of any social life whatsoever. And as a result, I started burning out. I started just kind of getting through the days, not really actually trying to improve while I was at the gym. And this is from someone who, if you followed me at all, coaching is all I've ever wanted to do. I live and breathe this stuff. It still is a large majority of my life, but now that's on my terms, which makes it a little easier to handle. So getting back to what I was talking about, the next thing I want to talk about in terms of getting more out of your training is recovery days. Do not be the guy who's in the gym 7 days a week. Do not be the guy who's in the gym for 4 hours, 5 hours every day. Your brain is not meant to handle that kind of stimulus. Your brain is not going to be picking up new information and picking up skills through that entire 5 hours. In turn, you're just going to be going through the motions. You're going to be there. Consciously, you're going to be feeling like you're getting better because if you're spending time in the gym, you must be getting better. But mentally, you're going to find that point where you check out. Mentally, you're going to find that point where, yes, you're still throwing the punches and the kicks. Yes, you're still going through the motions, but you're not actually getting anything out of it. You're not actually coming away with a new skill set. So if you're doing this to yourself every day and you're never giving yourself that chance to relax, that chance to rest, that chance to refuel, you're going to end up checking out. And in turn, you're not going to actually be getting as much as you can out of every one of your training days because you're simply there too much. And so to make sure that you don't get caught in that get caught in that loop of going through the motions, you've got to make sure you have that recovery day in your week. You've got to make sure you have that day that you can just put training out of your mind, relax, recover, let your body heal up, let your mind heal up, and then get back to it actually excited instead of with that mentality of, oh shit, I've got to go to the gym again today. So I want to leave you guys off with a challenge. So we're going to wrap up in a minute here. So just to recap, number one, the first thing that I want you guys doing to get more out of your training is to set intentions. You can take as simple as this can be as simple as taking 5 minutes before each and every training session and setting that intention for the day. What are you trying to get out of that session? How are you going to approach that session? How is this session going to benefit you in sport? And if you can do that, if you can take just that 5 minutes and set that intention, set that standard for yourself for the day, you're going to get more out of that session. The second thing I want you guys doing is taking recovery days and sticking to them. I know this is a difficult thing for a lot of athletes to do. I know athletes, when they take the recovery days, often they're sitting at home wondering how the gym is doing and wondering, if the gym misses them as much as they miss it. And I get it. But in the long term, taking those recovery days, giving yourself that time away from the gym is actually going to benefit you more while you're there. So this is not me telling you not to train as hard. This is me telling you to give your body and give your mind the breaks that you actually need to be able to get the most out of those hard training sessions that you're doing. So the challenge I want to leave you guys with is, first off, to hold yourself to that recovery day. If your recovery day that you've chosen is Friday and the opportunity to train comes up on Friday, as difficult as it is going to be, say no. Take the rest day you need in order to be back on Saturday at your best. The other challenge I want you guys to set, I want to leave you guys with, is to set those intentions before every training session. All week this week, go into training with an intention of what skill set you're actually focused on improving and how you are going to approach that session. Taking that 2 to 5 minutes before the session and saying, I'm going to approach my session today with energy and intensity and enthusiasm, and I'm going to improve X, Y, Z skill set. Just by doing that, you're setting yourself in the right mindset to be able to get more out of that session. So do that for every training session you have this week, and let me know how it goes. Let me know if you feel any difference. Let me know if you started noticing that in your training session, you're a little bit more focused. You're doing a little bit more. You're getting a little bit more out of that time. So that is it. That is all for me. If you tuned in live, I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. And those of you listening back on the podcast, watching this on YouTube or on the replays, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this as well. So make sure that as you go through the whole video and you get that homework, you get those challenges that I'm leaving you guys with, make sure to try to implement that. Make sure to implement that, not try to implement that. Make sure to implement that while you train this week. Make sure you're setting intentions for your training sessions and make sure that you're holding yourself to those recovery days. And if you do that this week and you start seeing a positive difference in your training, shoot me a message. Find me on Instagram, find me on Facebook, find me on TikTok, wherever it is you follow me, wherever it is you see me, shoot me a message. Tell me the impact that you found this had. And I look forward to sharing that with you. I look forward to you leveling up. And as always, I enjoy bringing this podcast to you guys so much, but that is it for me today. And I am looking forward to talking to you next time.